Hey everyone, Pastor Curtis here with another quick question video. And today is a really special day. Today is Justin Odell's birthday. He's now officially an adult, so happy birthday, Justin. And so in honor of Justin's birthday, today's question is from him. He asked me, how did people live such a long life in the Bible? And what a fitting question today, Justin, for your birthday. And that's a really good question too. So here's my quick answer. The Bible is fully God's word, and so we have to take it very literally. So when the Bible starts to mention ages of people that got really old, it can be confusing to know what to think about that. And Genesis 5 tells us that Methuselah lived to be 969 years old. In that same chapter in Genesis, it tells us that Jared lived to be 962 years old. Genesis 9:29 says Noah lived to be 950 years old. And Genesis 5, again, that same chapter in Genesis 5 tells us that Adam, the first man, he lived to be 930 years old. Those are some really old guys, if you ask me. And why did those people live so long? And why did God stop people from living that long today? Well, there are really two things you need to know. First, as a part of God's plan to populate the earth, it was necessary that people lived longer lives. See, God created Adam and Eve never to die. But because they sinned, that brought death not only to them, but to all of us. And it brought the consequences of heaven and hell and the reality of sin. Because of sin, Adam and Eve had to live to be very, very old so that they could keep on having children and their children could marry each other and have more children. Since it was going to take a very long time to populate the earth, people needed to live for a lot of years to be able to accomplish that goal to populate the earth. However, part two of the answer is this. Naturally, as people started to intermarry, aka marry their close relatives, that the near perfect DNA strands that were found in Adam and Eve slowly became corrupted by that intermarrying. For example, Cain and Seth both would have had to have married their own sisters, and because there weren't other people around. And there were other children of Adam and Eve who would have married each other as well. And because of the sin nature of the world, incest causes DNA defects. So as people intermarried, the DNA strands actually started to become weaker and weaker. For example, even Noah on the ark, his dad lived to be only 777, which was fairly young for his time. And those genes of his dad were passed on to Noah's children and their children. So basically, as the years continued and as the ages of people significantly started to drop, the original DNA of men became tainted, and it resulted in people living shorter lifespans. For comparison, for an example, let's say that Adam and Eve had 99.9% perfect DNA after they sinned. Now down to Noah, perhaps that number was all the way down to 75% of the original perfect DNA. And down to us, it could be far lower, 50% or less of the original perfect DNA that God had originally created people to have. As a matter of fact, before medicine made significant life improvements for life expectancy, people were dying at a very young age. People not that long ago, in the 1700s in the United Kingdom, for example, lived an average of only 35 years. The current life expectancy in the United States is 78 years. And it was only through medicine being improved that we have seen these numbers increase through modern medicine practices. So, what are we fighting against anyway for our life? Well, it's sin. The original sin of Adam and Eve has led us down the path of worse and worse DNA. so that cancer, genetic defects, or illnesses that aren't curable or changeable at all, those are all a result of our sin-tainted DNA that has been passed down all the way back to Adam and Eve for all of these years. So where does that leave us? Well, we should be thankful for every day knowing that God gives life to us each new day. Matthew 6:27 says, "Can any one of you by worrying add a single hour to your life?" And Jesus is talking there. He's basically saying no. The point is this: God knew how long people would live back when he created us, and he still knows how long each of us will live. And our DNA in the world is weaker than it was before, but it's all part of God's plan to save us from our sin and reunite us to him. Don't worry about how long you will live, but instead you should worry about how you spend each day that God gives you. Do you serve him? I hope so. I hope this video helps you today to know a little bit more about why people live so long in the Bible, and it helps you to understand and want to live each day for God. Happy birthday, Justin, and God bless you all.